The New York Mets only have 5 games left this spring. What have we learned and what will we learn before the start of the season? I'll talk about it all on today's show.
You are Locked On Mets, your daily New York Mets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello to all you amazing Mets fans. You're watching Locked On Mets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Ryan Finkelstein. If you want to find any of my work, follow me on X at Finkelstein Ryan. You can also find some of my writing at justbaseball.com, where I work as the managing editor. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. So the New York Mets took pretty much a full starting lineup to West Palm Beach today to face off against the Houston Astros. This is their final game against the Astros this spring, the team they will be opening their season against in Houston a week from today. That's right. We are a week from opening day. And so this was sort of a dress rehearsal in some respects to see these two teams square off. Both teams put together lineups that we could see on opening day. Theoretically, the Mets brought Francisco Lindor, Juan Soto, Pete Alonso, Mark Vientos, Brandon Nimmo, Starling Marte, Luis Torrens, Brett Baty, and Tyrone Taylor for their starting lineup. The Astros had Jose Altuve, Isaac Paredes, Yordan Alvarez, Edwin Diaz, Cam Smith, their top prospect now from the Kyle Tucker trade. It looks like an absolute superstar. He's probably going to win that starting right field job at a camp here. It's been unbelievable. Jeremy Pena, John Singleton, Brendan Rodgers, and Chas McCormick. So lineups, again, that we very well could see at the start of this season for the Astros. I guess the one question is if Christian Walker can make his return to the lineup from an oblique injury before opening day. Or if he starts the season on the IL, he would then be in the place of John Singleton. They could put Mauricio Dubon at second instead of Brendan Rodgers, but I digress on all of that. The bottom line is this was a chance for these two teams to have one little measuring stick game before they square off when the games really matter. And the Mets just had a absolutely great performance. They went 8-2, and Brett Baty had himself a game. After Luis Torrens had a leadoff walk in the third inning, Brett Baty doubled into right center field. Tyrone Taylor struck out. Luis Torrens scored on a wild pitch. Francisco Lindor walked. Juan Soto hit a sac fly that Jose Altuve dropped in left field. That's the second ball in I think as many days that Altuve has just flatly dropped in the outfield. So he is not looking good in that transition out to left field. I sort of wonder if he looks that bad, why not DH him and have Yordan Alvarez play left? But it's not my team. But pretty brutal stuff out there for Altuve lately. So a huge hit, though, for Baty there to get back going because he struggled a little bit over the last week or so. Had a great start to spring. And then as I talked about on, I guess it was Monday or Tuesday show, the one where I was breaking down my final predictions for the Mets opening day roster. Altuve had been the hotter bat as of late, but this was the type of game that Baty needed. So he rips that double, and then the following inning, Luis Torrens got a one-out base hit. And then Baty comes up, rips one down the first base line for a triple that scored Torrens. Altogether, now you look at what Brett Baty has done in camp to win that second base job. He's 14 for 42. That's a 333 average, 391 on base, 619 slug because he has 4 doubles, 1 triple, and 2 home runs. An OPS of 10-10. That is outstanding. He also made a diving stop in this game and got the runner out at first. So looking a little more comfortable at second base. That's going to be shaky. I mean, I think he can handle the position. There's going to be growing pains. He's never played, second base consistently, particularly at the big league level. I think he's going to get that opportunity to start this season with Acuna obviously spelling him at times for defense, and then, of course, starting against all lefties. But Brett Baty, with a performance like this, just showcased why he deserves this opportunity because there is still that high-end ceiling of what this guy could do offensively, where he could be a guy that hits 40 doubles in a season. I mean, he has that ability. It's just a matter of if he ever can figure it out at the big league level with the Mets uniform on. But this was a great spring for him, and he's still got 5 games left to add to it. At the beginning of spring training, I told you all that Brett Baty was best positioned to win this job circumstances have allowed both Baty and Acuna to make this roster likely and for them to get a bunch of run at second base because of Jeff McNeil's injury. But Baty has taken advantage of a environment that's suited to him where he's facing pitchers that, he can really eat up and have a really good run here. And he did exactly that. That's what he was supposed to do. Now the question is, what does it look like when the lights come on? So I'm excited to see that. Now, Acuna came in for him in the 6th inning, got 2 at-bats, went 0 for 2, played some second, and then a couple innings at third, did make an error. We'll talk about that a bit in the next segment. 5th inning, Mark Vientos reached on a throwing error. Brendan Nimmo doubled him home. Nimmo played 6 innings in left field. So he had one game where he played 5. Now it's up to 6. I imagine they'll just keep adding innings. And by opening day, it seems like he'll be good to go to be your starting left fielder. 6th inning, Tyrone Taylor doubled, one of 2 doubles he hit in this game. After Francisco Lindor flew out, Juan Soto walked, which set the stage for Pete Alonso, who crushed a 3-run homer, I believe his first of camp. That came off of former Met Rafael Montero. The Mets tacked on one final run in the 8th inning as Mark Vientos had an RBI single. Vientos played a couple innings at first base as well. Let's just give him some reps there as he is likely the Mets' backup first baseman this season. If Pete Alonso ever went down, they would move Vientos to first, Baty to third likely. And I'm sure there might be a game or two where they decide to put Pete Alonso at DH and Vientos will play a little bit of first base. So good to see him get some innings there. Overall, the Mets had 12 hits. They walked 6 times. They had 6 extra base hits. Marte had a double as well. So it was a double for Marte, 2 doubles for Taylor, a double and a triple for Baty, and a home run from Pete. They hit very well against Ronald Blanco, who I believe is in line to pitch the 3rd game of the Mets' first series of the season. So good to see them have some success there. And on the other side of it, David Peterson was absolutely fantastic. I want to talk about what David Peterson did in this outing, which is likely his final start this spring. We'll also touch on the guys that threw out of the bullpen in this game before we get into the final segment of the show today, which will be 5 questions with 5 games left in spring. A lot to get to. First, though, a quick word from our sponsors. Today's episode is brought to you by Upwork. Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more. Experts that are ready to help you take your business to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with the top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. If you need help with a marketing campaign, Upwork can connect you with a freelance expert who delivered incredible results. Posting a job is free and simple, and within a day, you'll have multiple qualified candidates to choose from. Instead of hiring full-time, Upwork helps find affordable, top-tier freelancers that scale businesses efficiently. Visit Upwork.com and post your job for free. That's Upwork, UPWORK.com, Upwork.com to connect with the top talent and grow your business today. Today's episode is also brought to you by FanDuel. March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's 200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories and even who's cutting down the nets. If you're trying to stay in the action, there's tournament games that are happening almost every day. There's always something exciting to bet on, and the FanDuel app is simple to use. When I win, I get paid instantly. There's no waiting around. And also right now, if you want to look at MLB futures, FanDuel is there for you as well. You can look at Juan Soto to win the MVP, plus 550. Sneaky bet for me, Carlos Mendoza to win the Manager of the Year at plus 1,400. I like that one a lot. If you want to see all the futures, they're there for you at FanDuel. So visit FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoop action all tournament long. If you're watching on YouTube today, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. Our goal has been to get to 13,000 subscribers by opening day. We only have a week left. There's still over 400 subscribers to get to, so I appreciate all of you who continue to subscribe. David Peterson took the ball for what is likely his last time this spring. If he were to start again, it would be in the final game against the Yankees, but that would be on 4 days rest. And then I don't believe he'd be good to go the following Friday then. No, he wouldn't, which would be the second game of the season. So for the Mets at this point, I imagine they had David Peterson throw some side sessions just to get ready. And then I expect him on the hill for that second game, which would then line him up to pitch the home opener the following Friday, I believe it is. So this was the last time we'll see him likely until that second game of the season. And he looked awesome. He looked great. Retired the first 8 batters that he faced. That included strikeouts of Yordan Alvarez and Edwin Diaz. He walked Chas McCormick. And then Jose Altuve walked as well in the third inning. That was the turning over of the lineup after he retired the first 8 batters. But then he got a ground ball to strand both of them. Fourth inning, gets the first 2 outs. Then gives up a couple of base hits, but got a strikeout to get out of the jam. Fifth inning, he worked around an error by Juan Soto that put a runner on second base with 1 out. Got a ground out that pushed the runner over to third. Then he walked Isaac Paredes. So he had runners at the corners with Yordan Alvarez up, a very dangerous hitter. He struck him out. So a couple big strikeouts to get out of jams. Overall, 5 innings pitched, allowed 2 hits, walked 3, 4 strikeouts, no runs. Completes what was just an outstanding spring by David Peterson. He ends up allowing 7 hits, 7 walks, just 1 run in 15 and 2/3 innings pitched, struck out 12, finished the spring with an ERA of 0.57. I think it's pretty clear at this point that David Peterson has found something. That hip surgery that he had really did help him. It clearly did wonders for him. And you just see a guy that can attack. He's 6'6", throwing from the left side. He's able to command the strike zone and also command outside of the strike zone to get chases at times. And he's just adept at getting ground balls when he needs them or picking up big strikeouts at times. I look into this season and you sort of project out each starting pitcher in this rotation. To me, the variance of outcomes is the smallest with Peterson. I feel so good about his ability to go out there, take the ball every 5th or 6th day and give you a chance to win it. And that also a guy that I have a lot of confidence in to pitch deeper into games than some other guys in this rotation. Clay Holmes, how is he going to adjust to being a starting pitcher for the first time? What's Kodai Senga's ability to pitch deep into games, particularly early in this season? Canning, Blackburn, McGill, are they guys that you want to face a lineup 3 times through? Or are they 5 and dive guys? And then eventually you'll get to the point where you see a Sean Manaea and a Frankie Montas, guys that project a little bit better, I would feel, to pitch deep into games, but guys that are hurt to start the season. So David Peterson is a guy right now I think I put money on to lead the Mets in innings pitched this year, which is pretty wild if you think about a conversation we might have had about David Peterson a year ago. But that's where we're at. He is in a great spot with the season about to begin. Edwin Diaz came out of the bullpen first, allowed 2 hits, but pitched a scoreless inning with a strikeout. There's been a lot of stories written and a lot to be made about his velocity being down this spring. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm really not. We'll see it in the regular season. Once he actually gets on the mound, is pitching at Citi Field in front of 35,000 Mets fans who are fired up at their narco played. Is he able to ramp it back up to 101, or is it 98? And if it is 98, Edwin Diaz can still be a very effective closer with his fastball and his slider a couple ticks below the velocity that he has been at the last couple of years. He doesn't need 101 to have success. He needs to pound the strike zone. He needs to have confidence in his fastball, as well as being able to throw that breaking ball. But at times he'll get a little bit too slider happy. The only way I'm concerned is if that diminished velocity impacts his confidence and he's not as comfortable throwing it, because that's where he gets into some trouble. But I'm not going to take anything from Edwin Diaz going through his spring training. He's healthy, and that's the only thing that matters to me. Now, Ryan Stanek and Reed Garrett both look great in this game. 1, 2, 3 innings. Stanek struck out 2. Garrett struck out the side in the 9th. So strong performances by them. The only pitcher that struggled was AJ Minter. And I'm not even concerned about the struggles, really. He walked the leadoff man, strikes out a batter, and then he gives up a 2-run homer to Cam Smith, a top prospect that is doing everything he can to break camp with a new team. Mind you, again, he came over in the Kyle Tucker trade. It was Isaac Paredes as the third baseman of the present, and Cam Smith was supposed to be the third baseman of the future. But he's gone out and said, I'm just going to win a job. And it looks like he's going to be the starting right fielder. I mean, the way he's playing, he deserves it. I think he's hitting over 400 in spring training. So that's how you go out and win a job. And I'm not going to be that. I'm not going to take anything from Minter giving up a home run to him one for one. Probably doesn't know much about Cam Smith as far as the scouting report too. I'm sure he's just trying to, live in the zone a little bit. I don't think he wants to walk guys in spring. And so, he got burned a little bit. No real worries there. He then got a ground ball that could have resulted in an out. Acuna made an error at third base. He then got another strikeout, gave up a base hit, and then probably hit, whatever the pitch count was. They don't show things when you're talking about that ballpark where the Nationals and the Astros play. I don't know how you have a brand new ballpark, essentially. I mean, it's fairly new. I'd say it was probably built. That's probably actually older than I think it is. It's definitely in the last 10 years for sure. Man, I'm feeling like it's over the last 5, but regardless, I can't believe they don't have the StatCast ability there. It's ridiculous. Like, how can Major League Baseball continue to have these minor league ballparks that don't have StatCast? I feel like it's not that big of a lift for these teams to put those in. So we do get some more data during spring training, but regardless, we don't know how many pitches he got up to, but they pulled him. I'm not too concerned about the performance by Minter, but he's pitching on 3 days rest still. So I do wonder if he's going to be ready for opening day, and that's going to lead into our final segment today, because what I wanted to do to close out the show is ask 5 questions that are left to be answered with only 5 games remaining in spring training. We'll get to that next. First, though, another quick word from our sponsors.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the Bracket Breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
If you are an everyday listener to the show, make sure you become a Locked On Mets insider. This is our texting service where you get updates from me anytime news breaks from the Mets. You can ask me questions anytime, take part in our Locked On Mets signed photo giveaways. And once the season begins, you will get these starting lineup graphics sent to your phone each day so you know who's in the starting lineup without ever having to go on social media. If you want to be a Locked On Mets insider, find the link in the episode description. Go to subtext.com/LockedOnMets. All right, so let's talk about my 5 questions left to be answered with 5 games left this spring. We'll open it up with question number 1, and that's about Jesse Winker. Jesse Winker has not played since his calf cramp. That was on March 17th. So the first question is, do the Mets finish camp without another injury that impacts their opening day roster? Winker's the guy I'm looking at right now because Starling Marte has been getting consistent at bats, mostly at DH. I can't recall if he's played outfield yet, but he has been getting in the lineup. Brandon Nimmo has been ramping it up and seems to be in line to start out in left field, up to 6 innings already. Imagine he adds on a 7th inning. I don't know if he'll play him back-to-backs just yet, so maybe he gets tomorrow off, plays 7 innings on Friday. Maybe he gets up to 8 innings on Sunday, and then maybe they have him play a whole game, or they don't even need to, but play back-to-back days on Monday to close out camp. And then he'd have, a bunch of days to rest before opening day. I'm feeling pretty comfortable at this point that Nimmo is going to be fine to make the roster and also fine to play some outfield to begin the year. I'd imagine they will cycle guys a little bit. I would think Nimmo might get some DH time where, maybe if it's a game where Marte is not going to play, you have Nimmo DH and you get Tyrone Taylor out there in the outfield, something like that. I imagine we'll see a good bit of monitoring of the playing time of Nimmo and Marte to start the season, but they both should be on the roster. Winker now is a big question mark, though. Was that really just a calf cramp? Why hasn't he played since? It'd be good to see him get into a couple spring games before the slate ends, and then that he's going to be fine to start the season. If not, Alex Canario, I think, has the inside shot to make the team because the Mets might lose him if they put him on waivers. He's the guy they traded for with the Cubs, sent some cash to get him into camp. And he's also gotten more playing time than Jose Azocar as camp has gone on. So it's clear that they are favoring him if they need to add another player to this roster, especially because it seems like Acuna and Baty are going to make it. So I can't see a world where it makes a lot of sense to roster a Donovan Walton, who is kind of the only other position player that is competing for a job in camp. I think it's going to be Canario if it's Winker on the IL. If Winker's healthy, there's no spot for Canario. Baty and Acuna grab the final 2 spots, and you roll from there. Question number 2. Will A.J. Minter or Daniel Nunez prove to be healthy enough to break camp? I still don't know the answer to that question. If you can see either of these guys pitch with only 1 day's rest, like if we now see A.J. Minter pitch on on Friday, I would say, oh, okay, they're really trying to ramp him up. They might still do 2 days rest, so I could see him going and pitching on Saturday and then on Monday, where he got 3 days rest for this one, 2 days rest for the next one, and then 1 day rest. And if he does that, I could see Minter breaking camp. I'd still be shocked if Daniel Nunez does break camp, just because they want to protect this guy. He's a huge part of their bullpen. He has the options, so you can option him down and wait, have him start the season in Syracuse. And at some point, you're going to need to get rid of an underperforming reliever, or you're going to have to call somebody up on the taxi squad. And Nunez can be that guy. When you call him up, you keep him there. But until he proves that he can pitch back-to-backs, I just don't know if you want to trust him as your 8th inning guy. And I think with A.J. Minter, you feel a little bit better about his ramp up, just because it's a hip injury or hip surgery he's coming off of. And he's a reliever. It's not David Peterson coming off the same hip surgery. And also, I think Peterson got that surgery later than Minter did. I think Minter got it, I want to say the end of August, early September. And I think Peterson got his, after the season in 2023, like November or something like that. So for him to come back at the end of May as a starting pitcher, it's not crazy to think that Minter can be good to go for opening day, which leads into question 3. Which relievers grab the final bullpen spots? If you have Minter on the roster, there'll be 2 spots up for grabs, because it'll be Diaz, Stanek, Garrett, Minter, Budo, and Paul Blackburn in the bullpen. If Minter starts the year on the IL, I think Danny Young will make the team, and you'd also have 3 spots available to Young and a couple other guys. If it's not Danny Young as your left-handed reliever, it could be Genesis Cabrera. Those are the 2 lefties left in camp. Huascar Brazaban, Max Kranick, Tyler Zuber, Chris Devanski, and Jose Urena are the 7 that I'd look at for maybe 3 spots or 2 spots, depending on Minter. I talked about this on my final roster prediction earlier this week. I like Kranick and Brazaban to make this team, but I also can see the Mets wanting to hang on to Danny Young and not lose him for nothing, as he is out of options. So we'll see how that shakes out, but that's obviously the last real battle left in camp. It seems like the roster, for the most part on the position player side, is set, and the rotation is pretty locked in with what we've talked about, where it's going to be Clay Holmes, David Peterson, Griffin Canning, Tyler McGill, and Kodai Senga, likely in that order to start the season, with Blackburn in the pen until April 18th, when you would need a 6th starter, whether that's him or Chaminade being available coming off the IL. Question number 4. Will the Mets roll with Hayden Sanger as their backup catcher, or will they acquire somebody? It seems pretty obvious at this point that it's not going to be Jackson Reitz. Chris Williams already optioned, or assigned back to the minor league camp. So I think it's Hayden Sanger's job to lose at this point. I've talked about Tomas Nido as a potential catcher the Mets can swoop up. That makes a lot of sense because he knows this pitching staff. I had a Locked On Mets insider, one of our texters, who was asking me, like, why not just roll with Sanger? And really wanted to see the kid get the opportunity, which I totally get. Can't even call him the kid. Am I older? I have to be older than Hayden Sanger. How old is he? 26? 27, and turns 28 soon, and I'm 29. I probably can't call him the kid. But regardless, Hayden Sanger deserves this opportunity. He's a great defensive catcher. What I told the texter about why I still would acquire Nido if you can is because it would cost nothing. And what happens, knock on wood, but what happens is something happens to Luis Torrens. All of a sudden, Hayden Sanger is your starting catcher. So if you can get some depth into the organization and pick up Tomas Nido for the first month of the season, I don't think that's the worst thing. But we'll see what the Mets do there. Final question, and this leads into who I expect to start tonight's game. Does Kodai Senga look like an ace in his dress rehearsal? You would think this is his last game before we eventually see him. Probably a while from now, technically, just when we talk about how long it's going to take till we get to Kodai Senga's first start, because he's not going to pitch in that Astros series. and I believe he's going to pitch the second game of that Marlins series, so we won't see him until April 1st. What does he look like in what could be his final start, about 10 days away from his first start of the regular season? That's the last starting pitcher that I'm interested to watch. I don't think that there's anything else that we could see from Griffin Canning, Tyler McGill, or Paul Blackburn that would change, our opinions of them. Clay Holmes, I guess, might get in there one more time. So it'll be good to see his pitch count ramp up a little bit more and see how he looks. But Kodai Senga, seeing him get an extended start where he's going 4 or 5 innings and getting that pitch count over 60, maybe even broaching 70, that would be a huge development for this team. And to just see him potentially have his mechanics look great and maybe rack up some strikeouts, I think that would be a very nice thing for Mets fans. But what I will say is, if Kodai Senga carves on Thursday night, I will not be talking about it on this show. I've mentioned it already, but I'm going out of town for my cousin's wedding this weekend. I'm not planning to do any recordings, I should say, over the weekend. I will have my laptop with me, so if something crazy happens, I can still do an audio-only show on the fly. But there's going to be Locked On Mets episodes all week long because I am pre-recording shows. I already have in the can right now as I'm recording this one, a show breaking down the top infields in the National League East. I'm really just comparing Mets, Braves, Phillies. And the goal is to put a grade on all these players, to then grade the position units and come to terms on who's the favorite in the NL East. So I've already gone through the outfielders and the infielders on shows that you will get over the next couple days. Infielders will be Friday's show. Outfielders will be Saturday's show. And then Sunday's show is going to be a breakdown of the pitching staffs for all 3 of these teams, and then a final scoring of each of these rosters and who should be the favorite come opening day. So you're going to have Locked On Mets content throughout the entire week, and then I'll be home on Sunday, ready to break down the last couple games of spring training, and then we'll be right there ready to go for opening day on next Thursday, a week away. So really excited that the season is about to start. I appreciate all of you who have tuned in throughout the entire off season. We'll continue to tune in throughout the 2025 season, where we will get back to recording episodes every single day, and it starts this week. So that streak is not going to stop. It's going to keep going all the way through the 2025 season. I appreciate all of you who will be along for the journey. As always, make sure you follow, rate, and review wherever you get your podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. Help us get to 13,000 subscribers by opening day. If you want to follow me on social media, you can do so at Finkelstein Ryan. Follow the show at Locked On Mets. Thank you for making Locked On Mets your first listener, your first watch every day, not for your second watch. Head over to YouTube and check out the first ever 24/7 streaming channel that covers everything in the world of sports. I'm talking about Locked On Sports Today, the local host from each team, league-wide host from each league, by Locked On Sports Today, streaming 24/7 on YouTube.